Hi, my name is Dominique Hernandez, and for this presentation, I'm going to be doing it on legal and risk management. The reason I picked this topic is because it has to deal with legal and business, and that's what I'm majoring in, and I figured why not see how the two relate to each other. My first topic is police accountability, risk management, and legal advising. Litigation cases involving the police, basically the process of taking legal action, because they have to deal with police misconduct, which is the use of excessive force, unjustified fatal shootings of citizens. Lawsuits involving the police have increased over time. By this happening, the police managers have recognized the increase in litigation. They began to take measures to reduce the exposure of liability risk. One of the measures is use of risk management techniques. The use of risk management police advising by law enforcement agencies as a part of their efforts to reduce exposures to liability risk. Some of the techniques include increase of supervision over police officers, accounting feedback of police services, establishing mechanisms. The goal is to basically increase police professionalism, more effective police management, and greater police accountability. Another topic they talk about is police executives having tried to reduce payouts resulting from litigation by using techniques enforced by legal personnel and manager assessors to deal with police liability issues by employing risk management within their organizations. Law enforcement have basically implicated risk managers to aid with the identification of department policies and procedures that led to liability-related losses to reduce exposures to liability incidents. Risk management is a management tool that can be used to identify and manage political risk and liability problems in organizations. Because of the increase in that litigation, to reduce the risk of harm to both clients and employees. The next topic that I will be discussing is legal defense for mental health practitioners, quality care, and risk management strategies to avoid lawsuits. Negative responses from the clients, such as they may fail to abide by company policies agreed and the outset of professional services. Example, making timely payments, not adhered to the individual treatment plan that embraces essential professionalism requirements. By being appropriately aggressive, making threats, being hostile, becoming violent. And file basically unjustified ethics and licensing complaints or lawsuits. The professionals in this field may have to deal with malpractice lawsuits by the grateful patients trying to gain enrichments. When mental practitioners are subject to legal action, it can cause family distress and financial loss. The cutting of the core of the practitioner's identity more than the assault on his or her professionalism. The complaint and malpractice of litigation against mental health practitioners now impose a profound risk. The third topic that I will be discussing is social workers. The text basically talks about social workers who have practices outside of the established standards. They are more likely to have lawsuits and licensing board complaints filed against them. This deals with basically the emotional cost and the financial cost. It becomes miserable and devastating under circumstances of these claims. This is where risk management comes into play because they have little knowledge of basically the subject. In the book, risk management becomes a concern because it distracts from the principal mission of the social worker. The concern being named in the lawsuit or licensing board of their reputation. There is a six steps process to legal risk management. The one has to deal with select a framework. The simple, adaptable. Is it simple or adaptable? Two, they have to obtain organization commitment. The audience, the budget, the scope. Basically, who are they dealing with? How they have to deal with it. Number three identifies legal risk. They have to find, recognize, and record. What is the problem? How can the problem be solved? Number four analyzes legal risk, the consequences, effect of it, and the damages. Again, where can they identify the damages? Where can they identify the consequences that will happen to their practices and them themselves and their reputation? Number five deals with the evaluate legal risk. Basically, modifying risk, remove, change, avoid. How can they change the way they do things so that way their clients are not filing complaints against them? How can they remove this client without having a lawsuit that will ruin their reputation? How can they avoid risk management even though risk management is beneficial to them? Number six is communicate and advise. Basically, identify the major risk. The recommendation, communicate. How can they communicate outside of court? How can they communicate without involving any lawsuits? How can they communicate without involving the press? How can they communicate without being subject to their reputation and their family and any problem they're having on the line? A company is supposed to protect themselves no matter what. They have to ensure that their client feels welcome and feels comfortable. To avoid risk management, to protect themselves and their work, even though having risk management plan is for safety reasons, it also makes that person seem less reliable in the company. Because once this becomes public and they have to use risk management, maybe other clients might look at them like they're not a successful company or they don't have a successful practice rate. Have the steps to prevent what can be beneficial by having risk management, but having that saves one's self and company can also be useful, because risk management is useful. It's basically protecting what can be destroyed. Legal and risk management is an interesting topic when it comes together, because in my profession, my future professionalism, I plan to use this information and adore by it. That way I don't have lawsuits coming to me from offenders, and I can always protect myself because now I know this information. Thank you.